guys, welcome back to season 2 of It's a Man's World podcast. And today my guest is Daniel Dargan. Thank you so much for coming on. We've been arranging this literally like the last couple of months saying we'll do it. And then obviously since I'm home and this episode, this season is all about inspiring guests, different stories. And I know from the last couple of episodes that I've posted, people are like driven, they're excited, you're coming up to January, maybe at Christmas it can be a little bit harder in the winter months. So hopefully today's episode will reframe your mindset and give you a little bit of an insight into your story, because everyone knows obviously about mine, and I know we know each other briefly. Well, we do after over the last year, and it's crazy the way we actually met as well. We were at an event and it was mad. I was doing a talk for TMP, Total Mental Performance, and I put up a picture at the end with my uncle, and then you came up and he was like, I have a picture with your uncle, and I was like, what the hell? So from there it was just initial click, and obviously I've been following you online, and like everyone, you're into like the cold bath, the therapy, so I would love for you just to introduce yourself, kind of give people a little bit of a background and how it all started, because I actually don't really know much about your story.
God love you. If you make sure you have a beer handy. Pleasure to be on. Thank you for having me. That was so interesting the day that we met at TMP. I'd never seen you before.
I know.
And I remember that so clearly. I remember your uncle came up on the screen.
Yeah. And
I remember booting Cheevers beside me. And I said, I've got a picture with this guy. I've got a picture of this guy on my phone. And then I felt such a, in my head, I was like, do I say, do I not? And I went up and said to you, and obviously that's where we first met. And I think it was incredible that, we met that day, and I met with so many other incredible people. And, I suppose the lesson there is just to make sure that you're putting yourself in the right environments. How many connections I've made off just being in those kind of rooms. It's completely changed my life. So, we're here because of that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose my story probably starts back when I was a kid, as everyone's does. But to give a bit of context, obviously what I do now, I'm an online fitness coach. I've been traveling about the world probably for the past 18 months, and what we focus on with our guys is physique and of course mindset as well. Like, I'm a big believer that it's not just about how you look. It's not just aesthetics. There's no point in having the Ferrari with the Fiat 500 engine. I believe it's important to, have a really strong reason why you're doing what you're doing. I believe it's important to have self-awareness. I believe it's important to be resilient, because I'm well aware, which of course firsthand, that there's a dark day that's coming for all of us, and a big part of my why is ensuring that I'm resilient so that I can deal with that and stay above water. But how I actually started on that journey was, from such an early age. I had a fantastic childhood.
Yeah.
Really good childhood. My mum and dad were super supportive of everything I'd done, and I always remember the things that my mum and dad used to say to me. We're at sports day, dad used to say, Dargans are winners. Dargans never lose. And it's, they always used to say, you're the best, we're the best. And that was almost like bred into us as kids. And, my mum and dad were started off very working class, and they've done very well for themselves, and, absolute role models for me. And, I do remind them every so often, but I had such a good childhood, but almost to the point where I was just so comfortable. I done all right when it came to academics, excelled in sports. Never really struggled when I was a kid, and I had it so good. So on paper, everything should be rosy, right? But I'd left school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I don't know. You're like, if you knew what you wanted to do from such an early age. But for anybody listening, I was 16. And I remember sitting in the classroom, and the teacher said, right, put your hands up if you know what you want to do when you're older. And everyone shot their hands up. And I sat there and I was like, and I was so baffled how everybody knew. And from that time, I was like, wow, like I feel behind. I feel like I don't know what I want to do in my life. And at 16 years of age, that's not something you should be thinking about. I started to put this pressure on myself that everybody has it figured out, bar me. Anyways,
And we don't.
No, we don't.
And you shouldn't either, because you don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's the most important thing too. Like, even what you're saying there, it's like people nearly feel like, I think people that when you put your hand up, some people do go into those roles, but naturally you don't really know. You're just following a program of what you know is a good job.
Exactly.
So you never know. Sorry, that just
No,
came to me there.
absolutely. Like you're right, and like we have a set of programs
Yeah.
that, you know, it's from what our parents told us, what our friends told us, what the school told us, and we go like through life with those beliefs instilled within us, and
Yeah.
it's really down to us to rewrite those, because, you know, your beliefs, they dictate the world around you. And it took me years to actually realize that those beliefs were malleable. You know, I grew up, and, you know, I'd left school, my friends went off to be doctors, lawyers, get into the corporate world, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I loved partying. I failed my A levels in the end. You know, I'd done all right through school, and they got to the stage where I came to study leave, and I'll never forget it. It was sitting out the front, mum and dad went to work, and I just would have sat out in my boxers, tanning. When I must have been 17, I was meant to be studying, I'd done nothing, and then mum would have came home from work, says, Daniel, how'd you get on with studying today? I says, great, mum, great. And then it came to the exams, hadn't done a top, failed. You know, it was the first time in my life I was like, you know, gosh, I'm actually not moving forward, I'm really behind here. But in my head, I was like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
They went off, lawyers, doctors, whatever, and I got a job in Topshop.
Right.
And
I could imagine you in there in your jeans and your t-shirts and all.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Like whatever you can imagine, it's that. Yeah. Like, I mean, I was extremely flamboyant back then. Like, I mean, picture me with, like, oh my gosh, I was dressed like Macklemore going into the shop. Like, I had, you know, I would have went in with a black turtleneck on, with like a grey checked suit with like a black furry coat on and aviator glasses. Like, I mean,
but you probably loved it, did you? Yeah, I bet you rocked it.
But at the time, people came in and they were like, "Are you university?" And I said, "No." I said, I'm a Topshop, but I felt a bit of an inferiority because of that.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you just have a normal job, you're not a normal job.
Yeah.
And anyway, I worked a year in Topshop, and I realized I wanted to be a pilot, right? Because, you know, my neighbor had taken me up to fly when he was a kid, because he was a pilot. So he'd taken me up on my 13th birthday, 14th birthday, and I loved it. I thought, this is incredible. He does this for work. Wow. Yeah. And, you know, I'd done a few lessons at birthdays every so often, a couple of years later, and I was like, you know, that's what I want to do. And I fast forward a year, moved to Dublin, spent 18 months there, you know, done my exams, started my flying lessons, and, you know, I'd done my first solo, where, you know, I took off the aircraft on the runway. I was on my own and flying about, and there was nobody else in the aircraft, and it was unbelievable. But, you know, somewhere along the line, that confident kid, he started to wither away, because one of two things. Number one, I realized I didn't actually want to do that as a career. And I put this pressure on myself, that pressure that I felt at 16 started to come back. Oof, I thought, this is my get out of jail free card, because I finally know what I want to do. Right. And I'm finally worthwhile to the world, because I have an important job that I'm pursuing. That's what I thought. And then also got into drinking drugs quite heavily, and, you know, I would have studied Monday to Friday. At the weekend I would have party. So I was burning the candle at both ends. Yeah. And I got to the stage where, you know, what you see now is what I would have portrayed back then, but that wasn't who I felt, you know, extremely anxious as an individual. I had to, you know, put on a front at all times, and I was really, really insecure, and I started to become very anxious and depressed, and it got to the stage where, you know, I eventually tried to take my own life, maybe 18 months after going to flight school. And, you know, to everybody, this was such a shock, because this was like confident, young Daniel.
Perfect picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, had it all going well.
Not
like,
you.
Easy childhood, going to flight school, decent shape, and it couldn't have been further from the truth. And I was in decent shape back then as well. Yeah. And that was like, your whole world was shattered. And I'll never forget that. And, you know, for anybody listening that is going through a tough time, I suppose the lesson here is that, you know, any hardship over a long enough period of time is actually something of benefit to you. Yeah. It's actually the one thing that will change your life forever. It's the catalyst, but you can never see that in the moment, right? And you can never tell somebody that in the moment, because they don't get it, right? Yeah. You're never going to get it until you only have 20/20 vision in hindsight. So now I can see that. But, you know, I had a coach at the time, and, you know, actually on a podcast with him a few weeks ago, and, you know, after that event, he met up with me, we trained, he listened, and, you know, he really built me up. He's like, right, let's do a photo shoot. He didn't know what to say, but he just done what he knew. Let's go train. Yeah. And that's why it's so important, especially in those tough times, to have good people around you. And yeah, he took me from strength to strength. I started getting into self-development. I started reading a lot. I started journaling, meditating, trying to understand myself, because I feel like, if you can understand yourself, you can understand the world around you much better.
Yeah.
And I got to a position where I was in a good place mentally. I tried so many different jobs, failed at them, didn't know what to do. Again, the insufficiency, and I finally clicked one day. I remember sitting in my bed, and I was like, okay, Daniel, what do you value?
Yeah.
I love talking to people, as you know. I'm a broken record player. I love training.
Yeah.
I love helping other people in the gym, the younger guys. And I love talking about mindset and personal development. So I put all this together. I was like, you're an idiot. I was like, this was sitting in front of you the whole time. So now I wanted to do what he done for me. And then that journey started from there. But
wow.
That was, that's an absolute synopsis of that.
Yeah.
But I want to preface to anybody listening, that story, it sounds like, when I tell that story, it sounds like a come-up story. That took me 4 minutes to tell you. That was 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of those things, right?
It's crazy. And do you think, though, from what I'm hearing right now, was there a little bit of shame, or am I good enough to even have to say that with, is my story strong enough to have a reason as to why I feel like this? Because there is people that always feel like, well, the successful people are the ones that have been through hell. Well, I mean, everyone has a story, and I mean, if it doesn't have to always be something bad that happened to you, like you were saying there, you had an amazing upbringing, you had good family, you were just a little bit lost in yourself because you were just kind of following suit, and you didn't really probably know who you were. No. But did you feel like your story wasn't that adequate to even speak about, because you didn't really go through hell, did you?
No.
In your head, but that's your story.
No, I again, for me back then,
yeah.
I had a friend at school, and she went through a really tough time, and I probably wasn't as empathetic as I could be, because I didn't understand. People said about anxiety and depression. I laughed when I was younger. That's how naive, and I don't regret it, because that's what I thought at the time. And things are different now, but when I was a kid, I was that naive.
Yeah.
I had a friend that used to tell me she was really anxious, and I was like, why's up?
That?
I used to laugh, and I'd be like, dead on, mate. And that's shocking looking back, but as a kid, I didn't know any better. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I just didn't understand. I didn't understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And I felt like it was external. I felt like I have no control over it. And I suppose people feel powerless, and people don't actually create change when they feel they're out of control, because they probably feel like, put it this way, if you knew on the other side of your efforts that you were going to collect all the coins and you were going to feel better and get the result, you would do whatever. You would do it, right? Yeah. But the issue is that people don't know. If I start trying to help myself, I don't even know if I'm going to get better. So what's the point in trying? That's how I used to see it.
Yeah.
But I suppose for me and anybody listening, the thing that actually made me change, it was having necessity. It was, why does anybody change? Well, why does anybody change? What do you think?
I think it comes to a point of, I always say it this way, there's a breakdown with a breakthrough, which means there has to be change and growth. But I think the reason people don't change is because they're scared of maybe what they have to leave behind. As in, you peel back a layer and you have to leave behind identity that you're that's me, but it's not you. Because the more you peel back, the closer you come to your heart. So everyone, that's why I say about a lot of things, we all live on the outside. So in order to keep changing, you're probably going to leave people behind. You're probably going to change job. You might change career. You might not want to be with your partner anymore. But that to people is I'm not changing, because that for me is scary, because you could be left by yourself, which naturally is what happens when you actually nearly get reborn, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I think by doing nothing, you guarantee mediocrity. You guarantee a satisfactory life, right? Mm-hmm. Which is fine for some people, but it's that idea that, if I never try, at least I know I'll not fail. But it's the only thing that you actually guarantee. It's if I'm out of shape, I don't know if I can actually succeed, so I'll actually not try. But that's the only thing that's keeping you there, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like there's a lot of people that I speak to. I speak to a lot of guys day in day out. I'm sure you're the same. Mm-hmm. For the girls, and there's a lot of people that they're not happy with where they're at, but they don't change, right? They don't actually, they say they want a thing, but then they don't do it. So for me, like I've been trying to unpack that recently as to, okay, well, why do people say they want to do something, but then they don't actually follow through? And for me, I suppose it comes down to fully understanding the benefit of that. Like Tony Robbins talks about the benefits and the cons of behavior change, right? And he says you need to get so clear on the current behavior that's holding you back, what it's cost you in the past, what it's costing you now, and what it would cost you in the future.
Yeah.
You know, for me, like it was drinking drugs, and I was like, right, okay, I don't really want to change, because like if I stop going out, I'm quite lonely, right?
Yeah.
But I knew, okay, if I want to be this person, something's got to change. But I didn't really want it bad enough. So for me, I had to get really clear. Okay, what does it cost me so far? Right. Well, you know, bank account's not loving it. I have about 2 brain cells to my name, and I'm built like the side of a fiver. So for me, you know, it was costing me a lot, right? I suppose alongside, you know, my mental well-being too. But then I was like, okay, this is the question that everybody needs to ask themselves. If I keep doing what I'm doing today, how's my life going to look in 5 years' time? Is that something you're happy with? Is that outcome something you're happy with or you're okay with? Yeah. And for me, it was a terrifying trajectory to be on. Yeah. So the only option is like, fuck, right, okay, something's got to give. And then look at the new behavior. Where would I be then? If I implement that new behavior, how much better would my life be? And I started to imagine all these things. I was like, fuck yeah, I'd maybe be able to save up money. I'd maybe actually like people start my own business, and wow, like I could really change my life. So, you know, I think people need awareness. You know, there's people that get caught in, I want to change, but they don't do anything. They just need to be made so aware of what this is costing them currently. Yeah. You know,
I love that. Definitely. It's like, well, what happens with the inaction if you don't take it? Well, that's up to you, but I can give you a whole list of things, you know. And I always say to people, like, even sales calls, people think, oh, they're just trying to sell me. It's like, no, I'm not. I don't need you, but you need me right now, because naturally, if someone says, say for example with coaching, I can do it by myself. That's what I do. I just go, woo, okay, try it. Come back to me 6 months down the line. Do you know what? I'm one more time, I'm going to try it myself. Like, I'm going on a holiday, like, I'm going, okay, keep doing it. So naturally, it's like there's this drive and motivation, but then they realize I actually can't do this because I probably do need someone to guide me. Like anyone, we do need that. Like, we're human. We need someone to lean on sometimes. We need advice. But I always think when someone is saying that on the call, I'm just like, listen, that's all right. But if you want to look at 6 months down the line, are you going to be in the exact same position? Yeah. A majority of people that take action and go, do you know what? I'm just going to go for it. They're nervous about starting, but they go for it. And then they say 3 weeks and 4 weeks, whatever it is, they're like, oh my God, I wish I started sooner.
It's probably the biggest thing. Yeah, I love that. It's probably the biggest thing that I do give credit to that's helped my development is the people that have helped me along the way. There's no nobility in doing it yourself, right? None. Like, I've Ben Heron, I've had Helmy, I've had Tony, I've had Stephen Cheevers, I've had like obviously my mum and dad, my friends. Like, I've had really good people around me, and I could not have gone through that journey alone. Yeah. But you know, it's funny that you say that, you know, on sales calls, and what would that future version of you do? They'd obviously take the fucking leap, right? So that's one thing that I got caught in previously, and I feel like a lot of people do as well. You know, it's people are waiting to have better mental health. You know, I've maybe quite a controversial opinion on mental health and what it's costing young people today. Like, I mean, you know, I've gone through, it's cost me a lot in years gone by. I've spoken to a lot of people that suffer with that, and you know, for me, I'd say fuck your mental health. And I know that's, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this, but for me, I think that's actually the one thing that's holding most people back. I speak for young men that I speak to, most men, and I can speak anecdotally for myself, that I was waiting to have better mental health to start taking action. Yeah. I was waiting to have better mental health to feel better before I started going for walks, or I started getting out of the house, before I started going to the gym. And you know, what I realized was it's really a feather in the wind, and it's quite wishful thinking, and it's really hopeful thinking. Hopefully I wake up feeling good enough to actually go and change my life. And people get caught in this. Have you heard of like the be do have framework? Yeah, it's like people get caught in the be, do, have, right? But people get caught in have, do, be. You know, when I have the right time, when I have the enough time, when I have the right mental health, when I have the capacity, I can then do the things which will allow me to become that person. We got it the whole wrong way around.
Yeah.
You need to become that person now.
Yeah.
That does the things. So that's, 19-year-old Daniel, you get up when you say you would. See, when that alarm goes 8, you say, I'm going to get up. Mm-hmm. That you go to bed at 10:30 when you said you would. That when you really don't want to train, but you said you would, you go. Mm-hmm. That when you said you're not going to party this weekend because you want to feel good on Monday, you stick to your guns.
Yeah.
And when you become that person, you start doing the things that guy would do. And then sooner or later, you're going to be in better shape. You'll have more bandwidth to maybe start your own business, whatever it is. But you'll eventually then have the things that you want to have. So we can't wait to feel better. Because we get so caught up in feelings. How do we feel? And I love the fact in today's day and age, Ciara, that people are talking, right? But talking is not enough. I say, people say talk more. I don't think talk more. Action. I think do more, right? Because the only thing, right? Anybody listen to this, if they're not where they want to be, right? And neither am I, right? I'm not where I want to be, but that's okay, right? I'm grateful for where I am.
Yeah.
Here we are, right? On the left, this is you, and this is where we want to be. The only thing in between that is just doing, is doing, not talking, doing. Because I was a big talker. I talked the talk, and I was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I never done it.
But think about what you're saying there, right? You're like that, and then the action in the middle.
Yeah.
But they go, but I have this. But I have da-da-da-da. And the excuse and the list will continue on for the rest of your life until you get to a point where you're going to be so miserable, unhealthy. And then it's always, you got the scare. You got the health scare. Maybe you lost someone in your family and you realise, holy shit, we're actually all not here for a long amount of time on the planet. My health is really bad right now. I wonder why my mental health is suffering. What you feed yourself with every day. Like, it's the smallest things that people don't even realise. Like, what do you put in your body every single day? And then you wonder why your brain and why you're feeling sick and why you're feeling sluggish, or you can't get yourself out for fresh air that's free. That's what we come from the ground. And then you wonder why you're disconnected.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so easy. It's like people are overcomplicating it. They're going out and they're getting the fancy books and then they're sitting on the shelf, they're not even reading it. They're going out and they're saying, I need to go and get this walking pad. Go for a walk and get your jacket on and get nice daylight exposure in.
Yeah.
And see how you feel after. Because the minute they do it, they're like, you know what? I feel so good after that. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
Really? And then they go, it's actually that easy. And I'm like, is it? They're like, yeah. I was like, I couldn't tell you. You can't do that for someone. Like, you have to physically do it yourself and just try. And it's like, this is why people are just so comfortable and also scared to change, because it's like, it's going to be something totally out of what your mind and what your program is used to. So naturally your ego and your mind is going to say, no. Don't do that. That's not a good thing to do. But that's what's keeping you held back. So people are probably finding it so hard to actually see past, I think, their mind and what their ego is telling them, in comparison to following what they really want, which is in your heart.
And getting clear on what it is that you actually want, right? Because if you actually don't know what you want, if you don't know what kind of life you want to live, how do you know what habits are conducive and which aren't? How do you know what habits are going to get you there and what aren't? Like, get you where? Yeah,
but they don't know what they want because they don't know who they are. So how can you know? Everyone's always like, my clients do this with me, and they're like, I take out, say if we do a goal setting workshop, we'll do something. There'll be like some people that will tap their pen. And I'd be like, Sarah, what are you doing? And she's like, Ciara, I can't put a pen to paper right now. Like, I don't even know where to start. And like, it's because there's so much outside noise going on. Like, she's listening to see who's listening in on our conversation. She's scared to put her hand up. She'll turn her camera off because like she's looking at how she looks. If I take anything out, like, there's just so much going on that people are so, I think, disconnected I think with social media comparison and like, well, like, look at this person, like, everyone's getting married. Do whatever you want. Do what makes you happy. Live where you want to live. And like, that's the hardest thing, I think, because there's just so much noise going on outside that you say to someone, well, what do you value? And they're like, I don't know, because you don't know who you are. So how are you meant to know what you value if you don't know who you are? Well, how does one find out who they are? You have to start by working on yourself. You have to like really look at I think starting like with the smallest things, like forget about your routine and everything, because it goes deeper than that. It goes back on generations. What's your mum and dad like? Do you have so much anger toward your dad? Because I did for a long time. And where'd that get me? I hated men. I was like, no, like I called this podcast "It's a Man's World." Like I was going through a change, like that is.
I know.
That's
I
like,
I was like, who hurt you?
everyone's like, oh my god, like what? And I was like, I was going through a phase where I was like splitting up with my ex at this time, and I was like, I'm gonna call it "It's a Man's World," and like, what? And I was like, yeah. Like pure rebellion, like against like the whole thing of it. But it turned out to be the best thing ever because I love chatting to people, men or female. Do you know what I mean? Like same thing. But I think when you're trying to figure out who you are and you're unsure, you have maybe some people have a little bit of imposter syndrome, or same thing, they're comparing it as to where they should be when they're not, or maybe their life didn't work out the way it was meant to be. I always say like look at the people in your family. That's like the first thing, because they're the ones that have raised you. They're the ones that brought you into this world. Do you have a relationship with your mom? No, I hate, oh God, my mom drives me mad. Like, she's a control freak. She's this. Well, your mom is a reflection of you. Then your dad, okay, well, like, what was their mom and dad like before you point fingers and blame and say, well, they're narcissists and they're this and they're that? Naturally, they're not. Like, it was just that the way you're brought into the world, you have those type of things going back in generations and generations, and people don't look at that stuff because they're like, no, I'm me. I'm like, no, you're not. You're a reflection of your mom and your dad. So until you heal that with your mom and your dad, even though if you might not even think there's something going on, you can't heal yourself. And then you don't know who you are, because they've given you the identity. They've told you your name. They've pierced your ears before you even asked for it, before you could even speak. You've got a jab in your arm before you even know when you're a kid. You can't say yes or no. Boys get circumcised.
Can't relate.
Not going to ask you.
Come on.
But they don't get a choice. Kids don't say. They say, like, did your kid say, can you do that to me? Or is it okay if I do it? Pierce your ears. No, they don't, because they can't even speak. So who gave you the permission to do that? Yes, they're your mum and your dad and all, but like naturally from a young age, you're told what to wear. You're told what school to go to. You're told that like if your mum dance, you dance. If your dad play football, you're playing football. My kid's playing football. But they didn't choose that. You know, some kids do. So I think it's like you're programmed so much into what other people want you to do that people are like, what?
Do you think that's the parents' fault?
I'm not saying
or
it's
the
their
individual
fault
to not question that?
No, I don't think it's the parents' fault. I just think it's like it goes so deep back that like they don't know any different because their mum and dad probably done that. So it's just like, it's like a generational curse. Mm-hmm. And like we all have it in some way. And it's not to point fingers. Our families are the best thing ever. They're the ones that teach us our lessons and shape us into who we are. But like you do need to like find your way back to yourself slowly and be like, I'm actually not happy with that. I don't want to live like that. Like I don't want to do this. Like I go against all the odds. I go the complete opposite way. Like tell me
in what regard?
Everything in my life. Like when I was younger, say for example, everyone was going out and I would be the only one that would be like, I'm going home. And they're like, what? And then I would say, for example, a weekend, they'd be like, all going out on the piss, and I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not. Or I would go to people, please, and then I'd sneak out and no one would even know.
Yeah, I get you.
And just little things like even with like dancing and anything in life, like I would always do the opposite. So, and I do that because I stay true to myself. But I did get lost along the way in some parts because I was scared to upset other people. And I think that's what people are afraid of when it comes to change. They're like, I can't do that because I know that's going to upset them. But what about you?
Yeah, you're the most important person there.
Like, you can't make your partner happy. You can't make your family happy unless you're happy.
And I think even if you know, there's people out there that don't have a great relationship maybe with their parents or with somebody else, and they don't want to, I don't want to forgive that person because they give them the satisfaction, but I don't even want to, not even thinking like that. I think you forgive that individual. How much bandwidth do you get back, right? How much do you allow yourself to heal through that? You know,
let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, let it go.
I think you're going to start singing there. I was like, all right, run it back.
I've had 2 copies now.
But no. But I know, I completely agree. I think it's, you know, doing the inner work on yourself, and, you know, if that means like someone going to therapy and doing that digging, great, go and do it. I think it's, you know, getting clear on what life you don't want to live too. Yeah. You know, I think it's, if you don't have positive role models in your life, that's fine. Yeah. Look who you don't want to be. Yeah. Like, is there somebody that you don't want to emulate? Mm-hmm. Great. Like, look at their life and do the opposite.
Yeah,
right?
Literally.
And that'll get you that'll get you far. You know,
Yeah.
like I think honestly, a lot of people get caught up in what I need to do. It's like, hold on, see if you actually just get clear on what you don't need to do. It's like, as TMP, how would I fuck this up?
Yeah.
You get clear on that.
Yeah.
You'll go way further. I honestly am a big believer that people nowadays, I feel like everybody should go sober for at least 6 to 12 months once in their life. I'm not somebody that's like, I'm not sober by any means. I'm not like, I would drink time to time. I'm not a binge drinker, but I honestly, there's so much utility in that, because how do you actually know what you're capable of if you wake up every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday feeling tired, sluggish, no clarity, no energy? Like, that's not you actually living. I remember the first time that I done it, and it was after that event. I had to go sober. I was forced into it because I was like, I have to change. It's a necessity. And I was like, oh my God, is this what life's meant to be like? Like, I was like beating numbers in the gym. I had energy all the time. I woke up on the Monday with a spring in my step, and I'm like, holy shit, this is like, I'm living with like double XP. It was unbelievable. So I feel like going and doing a sober stint, you'll 10x your output. Like, I'm a big believer in that. I would die on the sword for that opinion.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go.
So why do you socially drink then if you're like, oh my God, like it makes me feel amazing, I love it? Why do you have to drink then?
Oh, because I really enjoy it.
What way, like?
I love having the crack, having a few drinks.
Well,
like,
you can have the crack normally without it.
Oh, no, I know, but I enjoy it. Like, I enjoy having a few drinks.
Right, okay.
I love, like, it allows me to wind down. No, any more, 4 drinks, limit. Like,
but that's fair enough though. So you genuinely enjoy it. You like to have a little bit of crack with it.
I have a better relationship with drink now than when I wasn't drinking.
Right, okay.
Because when I wasn't drinking beforehand, I went through a stint of 10 months, went off it, or had a few drinks again, and then I would have went, maybe it was like 11 months then after. And I have a better relationship with it now, picking and choosing my battles when I want to do it. And I know that, like, beforehand I would have said, oh, if I have a drink, I'm going to be really anxious, or I'm going to be like, no, for me now, if I can have a drink, I need to ask myself a question on a scale out of 8 to 10. How do I feel? If it's any lower, I don't drink. I make sure, have I done all my work? Have I anything important the day after?
Yes.
No, because, like, again, if it's going to take away from work or anything like that, no go. But, like, if I choose that battle and I want to go and do it, great. I'm gonna absolutely do it. So it's actually, I have a better relationship with it now. But if I'm pushing really hard, business or training something, it's a no-go. Like, I don't allow anything to fuck with that.
Yeah. Well, what?
So it's a worthwhile trade-off for me.
Right, I love that.
It's a worthwhile trade-off. I ask myself the question, can I, like, that's all I ask. Can I justify 4 hours of crack for 2 days of not feeling my best? So most of the time it's a no, sometimes it's yes. And if it's a yes, it's a fuck yeah, let's go.
Right, yeah.
And if it's a no, not happening.
Yeah, fuck yes or fuck no.
Absolutely, because for me, I don't believe we should be living in absolutes. There's it's not, everything's not black and white.
Yeah.
But for me, if I want to go and do something, I want to do it. And yeah, like
love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's there's things that tick for different people, right? But I feel like everybody should see what they're capable of at least once.
Yeah.
Like, when I was building my coaching business, it's like I became an absolute hermit. I tell everyone this, I became an absolute hermit. I realized if I want to, blow up my Instagram, I can't afford to be drinking. I can't afford to be staying up late. I can't afford to be socializing. As much as, like, people think I am an extrovert, I wouldn't say I'm an introvert, but I just like my own space.
Yeah.
I don't get energy from socializing with loads of people. Yes. That doesn't give me energy. I'm cool chilling out for me, right?
Yeah.
I'll go to the beach on my own, grab a coffee, and I'm in bed by 9:30.
Solitude.
Yeah. So for me, I'd ask myself, what's going to actually get, like, you look at probabilities, okay? The probability of someone becoming a millionaire, like, there's at one stage in America, it was like, I think it was 5%, right, of people. At one stage it was 5%, so, like, therefore it's 95% that you're not. Like, those odds are pretty shit, but, like, how could I increase the odds of becoming a millionaire? Like, that's a question I would ask myself. And it's like, okay, well, would I be putting out as much social media content as possible? Would I be recording? Would I be spending every day scripting so I get better and better at it? Would I be trying, what would I do to increase the probability of it? And I was like, hold on, all of those things, they're actually they're all possible, but all those, the drinking, the going out, they're all gonna hinder. So I was like, fuck, I need to get rid of that. So every single Saturday, my my mum, my dad, my brothers, they would have went out, and I would have went to Boojum, it's like a wee Mexican place.
Yeah.
And I would have sat and watched Narcos, like on Netflix for half an hour on a Saturday night. And then I would have been in bed by 8:30, 9 every Saturday. That was like for a solid year.
Right.
And because I had to get up the next morning to script, to film, and I wanted to get ahead. And now I look at that and I was like, there was so much beauty in that. But again, I'm sure as you'd agree, which you probably had that stage as well, like you've had to sacrifice things to get to where you want to go.
Definitely. I think with anything comes sacrifice. And then, like, I was thinking of the TMP event when Karen said, so, like, the career that you choose, the business that you set up, what did you expect when it gets hard? Yeah. Well, you sign up to a transformation journey and maybe you hit a plateau, or maybe things are, like, flying, and then you get to month 6 and you're like, sake. And you're like, well, what did you expect? Because people expect it to be easy. But that's the worst thing that you can do. You can have an open mind, absolutely, and you can have a positive attitude, but that gets you only so far. You know, you do have to be resilient, and you have to know that it's going to get harder, and you have to be ready for that. And it's like, you don't just throw in the towel, and that's where I think is like a big one. It's like, I remember the comparison that he gave when it came to business, and then it came to relationships, and he was like, the partner was going on about something or whatever, and he was like, well, what did you expect? Yeah. Like, I'll tell you straight out, with me, anyone that's going to ever be in a relationship with me, like, they need to be expecting. Because I'm not an easy person to be with, but, like, I have a very high standard for my life, and, like, I work extremely hard and I thrive off that. It's not that I do it to cover up at, and I love it. Like, that's my passion. And, like, that's what you're going to expect. So I always think, have some sort of expectation that it will get hard, or it's not going to be easy all the time, because it's not that you're setting yourself up, but, like, you're being realistic as well. You know,
managing expectations. I feel like that's probably the one area that holds people back. You know, when your expectations don't align with reality, tile gets thrown, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's
not doing it.
Yeah, it's like the issue is never that people are down. Yeah. The issue is the people that think they shouldn't be. The issue is never that the weather's shite. It's the issue that people think it should be good all the time.
Put a jacket on.
Right? So for me, I'm like, every time I make it my mission. Now, when I'm in the spa, I'm grabbing a coffee, and I say, how's your day going? And they say, oh, miserable out there. Yeah. Another day above ground, baby. And they're like, yeah, I suppose it is. Because for me, something that's out of my control, fine with that.
Why would you let that throw you off? Yeah, everyone says to me the minute I'm home, what's the weather? Is the weather killing you? I'm like, listen. I'm like, come on. I'm here with my family. My nanny is healthy. My mom's good. I'm grateful. I can come and do podcasts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you woke up today. Don't even look at everything that you have around you. You woke up. Did you have a bed to wake up in? Okay. Can you not even write, like, the smallest thing? And that's why I say with affirmations, when people are writing them down, they're like, say, for example, I am powerful. You're like, no. Scrap that, because you're not. Yeah. And they know they're not. So you're writing something down just because it sounds strong. It's like you're giving yourself the wrong thing straight away. Yeah. Write down, like, I'm healthy. Yeah. I'm lucky that I have a roof over my head. Why don't you start with, like, the tiniest things, and then watch yourself change those words as it goes when you grow. But don't jump from the start of the line at A and expect to be down at Z, because that's not how it works. And also, that's how you're setting yourself up, because there's this huge jump for people, and they're like, God, that's mad. And then they have this thing in their head where they're like, someone opens the diary and they're like, you're writing down I'm powerful. No, you're not. And then they're like, yeah, actually I'm not. You're a fucking liar. Yeah. But it's not. It's just because they want to be that person so bad. Absolutely. But step into the first few things, and then it's like all those baby steps is what adds up. And I think, like a timeline, A to Z, people want to know, like, oh, but how am I going to get there? Oh, forget the how. I don't even know how. They're like, yeah, no, you have it all for. I'm like, I really fucking don't. How am I going to do it? I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make it work. Yeah. And I'll figure it out along the way. And that's where growth comes, and that's where you learn about yourself. And, like, for me, growth is so exciting. It's so important. And I think when anyone's going through a transformation, like, when they're so excited and they're inspired, you see someone's whole mindset and mood. And that's why your health, fresh air, their mind, when all that comes together, watch them change career, watch them do everything, because then you know it's really starting to change and it starts clicking. But forget about how you're going to do it, just start. That's my big thing. Start. Stop saying how.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest mistake that people make is just being idle. I always say that clarity in what you want to do comes from engagement, not thought. You're not going to figure it out sitting on the sofa.
Yes.
Waking up one morning, today's the day it's going to come to me. It ain't going to happen. Let's be realistic, right?
No, it's not.
If you're struggling, you don't understand, you don't know what you want to do. What do you actually, what lights you up? Like, is it music? Okay, cool. Like my friend, he was interested in music. He says, great, join a Facebook group, read a book about it, listen to podcasts. Do you know anybody in the industry? Can you intern somebody? Can you dip your toes in the water and actually not be idle, but take action and walk along that path and see what comes your way? And one of two things will happen. One, you'll realize, no, this is going to stay a hobby. Or two, holy shit, this lights my soul on fire. I'm going to pursue this with every single thing that I have.
Yeah.
But it ain't going to come to you just sitting, waiting. But what you said there about that self-story, I think that's important as well, right? Telling yourself.
Yes.
Telling yourself, again, not bullshitting yourself.
Don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
You're not powerful.
Yeah.
You're not strong. You're actually probably weak right now.
Yeah.
And you're lying.
Yeah.
But you're trying to make yourself feel better. Forget about it, because your head is so strong. Your mind and your ego is the strongest thing ever. It's not going to believe you. It knows already. Your subconscious, while you're writing POW, is like, you're fucking liar. And you're writing it and you're thinking in your head, shit. Even if you're not, your subconscious is like, no, you're not. Because it knows you're not. So why would you do that? I always say, start with the smallest things. People think the smallest things aren't going to add up. They're not. That's not going to get me anywhere. I'm like, watch it get you somewhere. But I think the action, as in going for a walk, and the mind, they don't work. They work hand in hand. Mm-hmm. But it's like you have to start. Like you actually have to do it to actually feel it. And then your mind will give you a little bit of reassurance, and then you go back and do it. So they kind of counteract with each other, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's huge, but I'm a big believer in like what you focus on, you feel.
Yeah.
Can you get caught up in the weather? Can you get caught up in how
long it's going to take?
Right, time's going to pass anyway. But I think what you focus on, you feel. Something I've really drilled into myself. I'm not bullshit myself. I can be quite self-deprecating, but in a way that's something that fuels me.
Yeah.
I have a very positive self-image about myself.
Of course.
I never used to, but I repeat stuff to myself every single morning.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what it is. I tell myself, I like myself. I am the best, I am confident, I am a winner, and I am a leader. I tell myself that 10 times each, every morning when I'm in the ice bath or the shower. I tell myself in the evenings. And I honestly, obviously backing that up with action, that I know definitely has an impact on my self-story. I'll tell you what it doesn't do. It doesn't have a negative impact, right?
Yeah.
That's it. If I tell myself I'm a loser, I'm lazy, I'm ugly, sooner or later, I might believe that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like I used to, my mum used to say to me, and rightly so, right? I was lazy when I was younger. Like our mum, they used to give us fill us up with so much confidence, but I was a bit of a lazy bastard, right?
Yeah.
As in, I would never would have went the extra mile.
Right.
Never, because everything came so easy that when anything required any effort, whatever. I always felt like no matter what, I'll land on my feet.
It will work.
Mum was always like, no matter what happened, Dan, you always land on your feet. But I always told myself this, right? But sometimes that doesn't pay off. And Mum said, when it came to the schoolwork, she says, Daniel, you're very lazy. And see, if you don't change, you're not going to like the life that you live. And, I took that to offense because I knew it was true.
Yeah.
But I started to tell myself, no, I'm not studying because I'm lazy. That's just who I am, right?
Yeah.
I don't do that.
You tell yourself who you are.
Yeah. I don't need to study because I'm lazy, right? But again, that self-story is so, so important. So now, you'll never catch me saying something out loud like I am stupid, I'm lazy. You'll never catch me saying that. I will not do it. If there's times where I want to go to the gym and I'm like, you're being a bitch, sort your shit out, right? Mm-hmm. That's fine. But I seriously self-deprecating, I feel like it can be very damaging. So if you're listening to this and you do tell yourself, oh no, you tell yourself, oh, I'm lazy or whatever, I don't think it's helpful for you. I think definitely changing that self-story, but it has to come with action. Shouting in the mirror and turn the lights on and off 3 times, it's going to do nothing for you. But if you actually, you act on that, it's huge. But what you focus on, you feel that's been something which is huge. And, me focusing on the things that I have as opposed to what I don't. It's look around you, right? And look around the room, right? I want you to do this. And for anybody listening, look around the room and look for everything that's brown, right? Look around you. Left, look right, everything around it. Yeah, brown. Okay, close your eyes. Right, tell me, keep your eyes closed and tell me everything that you've seen that was red.
The camera light.
Yeah, okay. So you probably seen more things that were brown, right?
Brown, yeah.
Yeah, why is that?
Because you said focus on the brown thing.
Yeah, okay. So like you start to whatever you focus on, you know, you're gonna pay attention to it, right? Like if you start to be more forward thinking and look for what's going well in your life, you're gonna be more of an opportunist, right? And there was probably things, you know, which you were looking at that were a wee bit beige. You said, oh no, that's brown, that's right. So we start to create, even out of opportunities that don't look like they're there, you start to create opportunities. Like you'll do anything to then, oh, I'll do this because, you know, I might be successful off the back of it. So being an opportunist, it comes from, firstly, as you said, being grateful, looking at what's going well in your life, and not worrying about shit that you can't control or what's going wrong. Yeah. So that's been huge. You know, that's been massive for me because I realized like, if I'm in a positive state of frame of mind, I'm taking positive action. I'm doing what I say I'm going to do. I'm focusing on what I can control, and I'm not complaining. I know there's a much higher likelihood that I'm going to get to where I want to go. Yeah. So those, but again, those shifts, they take time, right?
Yeah, I love that. That was such a good analogy to close your eyes and to spot it, because like when you said red, I was like, huh. And then I was like, well, what else has red? Oh, right, well, the camera has red, but I just made that up. I didn't actually see the red.
You were right, to be fair.
I just said, right, a camera light. What'll I say? Because I can't not give an answer. But focus on the brown, and look what it is. It's brown. So focus on, oh my God, girls, focus on, I've got lower fat stomach, and whenever that goes, I'll be happy. Okay, keep focusing on it because it's going to stay. Because you're just so worried about it. And it's like, then what way, whatever you're focusing on right now, what way is that showing up in everyday life? What way do you come home to the people that you live in the house with? What way do you come home to your partner? How do they feel when you are constantly moaning about the same thing all the time? It's like they'll probably say to you, well, change. Do something about it. It's like, yeah, but that will continue on for life. Yeah. But I love that. That's amazing. But you know what I was just thinking there? I know we said we would touch slightly on like the ice baths and like you are quite positive and you went and done Wim Hoff and you done
Wim
a lot
Soft,
of things. Yeah. Is it Wim?
No, it's Wim Hoff, but I call it Wim Soft.
So basically before we started the podcast, you were telling me that it wasn't as hard as what you had, but was it hard and maybe you were just stronger?
Bingo, right? Bingo.
Right.
Because
you're saying that, but I would probably find it very hard. So can you explain that?
Yeah, so the Wim Hof expedition, anybody that doesn't know this, listen, Wim Hof is dubbed as the Iceman, this crazy guy from the Netherlands. He's a really horrible backstory, but it led him to go on and do amazing things. You know, I'll give you, his backstory?
With his wife and stuff.
Right, so you know the crack. Basically, his wife committed suicide. He felt like such an empty hole, and he was on a walk one day, seen the lake, and there was just something calling him to go into the lake, and he went in. It was freezing, it was in winter, and he felt, for the first time, he felt like there was respite from, he was no longer feeling the pain of his wife's death. So he went back day after day after day. And he started this movement of, the cold water therapy, right? And, I'd watched him for years. I'd done the sea swims, I'd done the ice bins and whatever it is. And
go and check his page out. He gets in nearly every morning and everyone's like, how do you do that? I remember I used to say that to you. How do you do that? Yeah. So I want to know about this.
But yeah, so I mean, very simple. We went to Bloody Bridge, myself, my friends, Tony, Helmy, Emmett, there was a couple of us, and after coffee, we were like, right, we booking on to this or what? It's like back in the day when you were younger, you were like, you had a few beers, and you were like, well, we book on the Zante here, but we were booking on their wellness retreat. How times change, eh? Fuck's sake. Life comes at you fast. So we booked on. It was 7-day expedition in the mountains in Poland. You book on, I was like, whatever it was. And there was 7 of us going. It was unbelievable. I was so excited. I felt like a kid again. But the biggest thing wasn't the expedition. The biggest thing was the preparation for it. Right. And just, I'll come back to the Wim Hof. We went on a dip on Saturday and done 90 seconds, 2 minutes. And it was floundering. And after 2 minutes, we got out because we didn't set a time. We just done 2 minutes, and we got out. Last year, before Wim Hof, Helmy and I went to the waterfall in February and did 27 minutes, and it was hectic. But we done it, right? And like in between, like the two of us, we felt like we could do anything. We all felt like we could do anything, right?
Contagious energy.
It primed you so well. Like I felt so resilient, and I was like, there's nothing I can't do. I was ready. I was looking at this expedition like I'm going over the top here.
It's gonna kill
I was like, you see more movies and people are going over the top. I'm like, kiss Tia goodbye. It was lovely.
Everyone was getting excited for that trip.
Yeah. Everyone was fired up. But I was like, I was going to this being like, it's going to be the most difficult thing that I've ever done. So we practiced and, we got in the ice bath every day and we bumped up the minutes and it was more intense and more intense. And the camaraderie with fellas, it was incredible. Guys don't have that enough, right? Guys don't have human connection where they can do manly things anymore and like more primal things, right? Like going out and jumping in the
survivor skills.
Yeah, like stuff you would have done like 100 and gather times, like jumping in the waterfall and like acting like kids.
Yeah.
I feel like people lose that when they get older. So, it was maybe 3 or 4 month build up. We were in the ice every single day, building up. And, we rocked up on the first day in Poland. And there was breath work for 90 minutes. And we were like, it was intense. But like, we were all like, we on naps till failure here. Like, what's the crack? We were like, where's the ice? Where's all the ice?
What's going on here?
The breath work was very intense, and there was people screaming, being sick, like purging. It was it was pretty
deep.
intense.
No, your body was shaking on the floor and all.
I honestly,
That happened to you?
No, it did, right? So I thought, I'd seen stuff beforehand and people are like, oh, you'll start hallucinating and your arms will be everywhere. And I was like,
screeching like...
I'm pretty open-minded, but I was like, dead on, mate. Anyway, we done it and afterwards, like I was completely hallucinating. The instructor had to come and like grab my hands and pull them down and all. And there was a lady beside me screaming. Another woman was sick and it was super intense, but... I felt like I was on drugs. I was like, give me more of that shit.
Weird feeling, isn't it? It's crazy what it does. That's your breath.
Yeah. How long have you done it? Obviously,
I've done a lot of breath work, and it's
unbelievable.
Deep. I do it every 3 times a week.
Do you?
Yeah. And I went to an event, a retreat as well, and I done it. And like on the 3rd day, like at one stage, I was like coughing and like choking and everything, like nearly puking. Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah.
Did you hallucinate? Did you?
Oh, I seen everything. Like, I went back on the first day, I was like, oh, no, I don't know. What are they talking about? And then the second day, I went deeper, and he was like, all you have to do is breathe. And I was like, I am. He was like, no, you're not. And I was like, I am. He was like, your stomach is not lifting.
Oh, it's not.
And coming down.
Okay.
And then they changed up the breath work where it was like in, out. And they started getting faster. And then I started noticing my body was like starting to lift. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? But like, I just kept going with it. And then I went back on like a lot of shit. And it was like deep stuff. I think I cried for like 45 minutes, like yelping, like nearly getting sick and all. It's deep stuff. Like,
do you feel like that's something everybody should open themselves up to?
Please try it.
You think so?
Oh my God, the breath work is, and it takes a few times, it does, but the breath work is the most amazing thing ever. It changed my life. Honestly, like going to that event and seeing what it can do for me and how much I released. It was crazy.
It's very taboo for guys to do. And, I think it's definitely changing. But when we went there, it was the norm, right? So everybody was doing it, and I really immersed myself into it. And the people you met were incredible.
Yeah.
Some absolute headbangers, mind you. Right. But it was unbelievable. There was somebody that died on it, believe it or not. She was an older lady.
Wow.
She wasn't in our group, but she must have had heart complications, maybe from the breath work in the ice, but it was kept very, very hush-hush. And we only found that out in the last day. She wasn't in our group. But anyway, so we were doing the breath work, then you were going into the ice, back to breath work, ice. And because we practiced so much, like I wanted to fight demons.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
You wanted a shock.
I feel like I hadn't had anything that tested me and like made me really like, when you do something so difficult that it brings you to it can bring you to such a dark place and like you have to dig so deep.
Horrible.
I wanted that. I don't know why. Maybe because I hadn't felt it in so long.
Yeah.
And it didn't bring that up for me because we done so much prep. It was ridiculous.
Already,
one of our girls, Carolyn McKenna, no?
Yeah.
Carolyn had done it a year previous. She was like, "You're too extreme. You need to relax." And we were like, "Nah, like we're going to war here." And like, everybody was very relaxed and it's wellness, and we were all like playing war music, being like, "We're ready to die here." Anyway, we got into the ice, and probably the most difficult thing was you got into the ice for 2 minutes, and then they told you to get out, and then you get back in for 3 minutes, and then you get out. Get back in for 4 minutes, and then you get out in, out, and they kept going. And then afterwards, you jump in, and then it's who's in till failure. And bear in mind, a lot of people had dropped out till it, and it was like, you stay in for as long as you can. And then we were all like, it's go time, boys. It's like, it was just guys being guys, right?
Yeah.
But there was girls in there absolutely killing it. And like there was, you know, in my group, there was myself, one of the other boys, three of the other boys, and then there was a couple of girls in with us there, and it was just like, in that stage was probably the most difficult. It wasn't, I didn't get the stage where I was fighting demons, but that was difficult. And if you hadn't been used to ice baths, hectic. Like there was a girl there from LA, and she'd never done an ice bath before. I was like, you've got some set of balls, love, because honestly, it was very impressive. Like
but to see how far you've come though, when you done that and you were like, it wasn't that bad, where you kind of like, that shows you what your mind tells you.
Oh, it's all
a game.
It's all a game, and like your ability to be able to relax into discomfort, your ability to manage your expectations, and also your ability to have a strong reason why you're doing what you're doing. We went on Saturday there, done 2 minutes. Why? Because we had there was no necessity. There was no real strong why beforehand. We were prepping for something, so like we were prepared to do anything in the lead up to that. So that was, you know, it was a good lesson in that too.
But you do have to be prepared going to that, because I mean, your body would be in shock if not.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't think you'd sign up to it if not though.
No, you sign your life away, and you're like, basically like, mate, if you die, it's on you. So like yeah. But it was unbelievable. I did, and then you do a hike. It's like a 3-hour hike, so you're only allowed to wear your shorts. Or your boxers if you're me.
Ooh.
Like so
wow.
it's like maybe -2, and you're climbing up the mountain, and so it's 3 hours, and you're not allowed jacket or anything like that at all. And then you get at the top. Once you get to the top, you know, you turn back down, you turn back around, and you put your clothes on. But it was great. It was such a good experience. But just doing things like that, I feel like it's important for people to do things which their 80-year-old self is going to look back and say, what a life.
Yeah.
You just being like, I'm up and going to Miami.
I'm out, like, yeah.
What a life.
Yeah.
Right?
But everyone has a choice to do it. It's not like, oh, but there you go again. But you have the money. It's like, no, I created that.
Lucky for you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Nice
Look at you. You can deal with the cold while you're at home. Yeah, I can. I can be anywhere in the world and deal with whatever comes at me. Do you know? Because it's your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like a lot of people get caught up. A lot of people do get caught up on that, and they paralyze themselves through lucky to be you. It's like, oh, well, I have kids. And I'm like, well, I mean, in my opinion, the fact that you have kids is every reason why you should actually be going to the gym, as opposed to, that should be your why, as opposed to the one thing, you know, holding you back. I mean, for me, if I grew up and then seen a video of my dad or seen a message of my dad saying, I can't because I've got kids, I'm like, wait, Dad, you didn't.
Why did you not do it?
You didn't want to improve yourself because of me?
Yeah.
Oh, that's my fault? No, like, shut up and go.
Yeah. No regrets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no regrets, and perspective. Put everything into perspective. Think about what you can do, and always try and look at the positives in every situation. And I think people think everything happens to me. No, it's not. It's happening for you for a reason. If things are happening to you all the time, it's probably a sign that something needs to change in your life. The universe will keep sending you and smacking you across the face until you say, wake up. And then you're like, oh, right, now I get it. And you're like, how many times did it have to happen? You know? And like, obviously, looking at your page and what you do, if anyone doesn't follow, I'll leave the link below, because obviously what you do is so inspiring. It gets you going. Like, I love seeing your stuff in the mornings. I'm like, right, come on now, stick the jacket on and let's go. I even complain about that, because you're just like in the war, like you can see how grateful you are for your life. And I know, like, even for different men, even females as well, like, that you look at that and you go, that is deadly. I want to do that. But it's like, if that is you right now and you're like, I want to do that, try it. Just try, start small. But to kind of round up the podcast at the end, I want you to ask me one question, and then I'm going to ask you one thing.
Okay.
And we'll finish out. So...
I ask you first, or...?
Go for it, yeah.
Okay. What's been the most valuable lesson that you've learned the hard way?
Ooh. Repeat that one more time.
What's been the most valuable lesson that you've learned the hard way?
I think the most valuable lesson that I have learned the hard way is self-respect and boundaries.
What do you mean by that?
Put a boundary down, and if someone breaks it on you more than once, you walk. You step back. You respect yourself enough. And for me, that was the thing that I didn't do. And that was like the hardest lesson. But also now I've realised like what my boundary is, what I deserve respect-wise as well. And I didn't listen to that. So that was like a hard lesson for me. I didn't listen to it more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. And I'm sure people are probably saying, what, in what way? And obviously in a relationship way. And I closed my eyes, I closed my ears, because I didn't want to have to go through that. And it's so funny because people say to me, why did you stay? And I always say, you know what, one of my friends laughs at this. She's like, you typical Kira Rossi psycho. And I was like, she was like, Kira, like, why did you stay? And I was like, I stayed because number one, of course, I thought I was in love. And 2, because I was on such a roll with business. And this is where you can get caught up, by the way, people. I was on such a roll with business, and I was on this serious drive towards go, 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 up and up and up, that I was like, I'm not going through a breakup. I don't have time for that.
Don't fuck with it, right?
I was like, my success in my career is more important. But what happened in my success in my career? It slowed down. Why? Because I wasn't myself. So for me, staying true to yourself, having boundaries, and like listening to your gut and your health and your signs from the start, and not going past that, because that's the hardest thing, because your mind will always say, don't mind that. But for me, I didn't listen, and that was my sign.
Do you feel like people need to make those mistakes themselves?
Oh yeah, you have to make them, and you have to get smacked more than once.
Because there'll be someone listening to this that was in that position. But do you
Trust
feel
me.
what do you say to that girl? Do you feel like they need to wait until they get so badly hurt, or what do you say to that? What do you say to that girl? Because she's listening probably, right?
To that girl that's probably in the same position right now, where their trust has been broken more than once, their boundary has been crossed. Like, the only person that you're hurting is you, more and more and more, and probably your person that you're with, because like you're not truly happy. And I think everyone knows deep down, if you're like, oh, but it's like, you shouldn't, there will be difficult times. It's never going to be happy Larry Rosie. Like, it's never going to be that. But you need to be brave, and you need to take the step and step back to realise that there's just so much more waiting for you. And for me, my whole life has changed massively, and I'm so grateful that happened to me. Like, I'm like, I love you for that. Like, they're like, what? I'm like, I forgive so much. Like, I'm like, I love you for that. Like, there's no hate. Like, I genuinely do. And people want me to come on, and they want me to lay into them, and they want me to do this. I'm like, I don't do that. I don't even explain what happens. It's not your business.
That's powerful.
And it's powerful, and it's like, I sit in my own power and my own true self, because I don't need to explain to everyone else what happened or what went on, because I know. So I would walk if I was you, and stay true to yourself, because it will always catch up in the end. And time waste.
It's great advice.
Thank you. Your question. Okay. My question is, what's been one of the biggest like lessons for you overall in life, whether it's going to be business, whatever, if you want to pick one, and what makes you truly happy?
Never suppress your personality for fear of looking uncool. I used to always try to prove my worth to the world. I used to always outsource my validation. If he didn't think I was cool, I'm not. If they're not proud of me, I don't mean nothing. And I realised that I can achieve everything that I set out to achieve. I can, I'd set myself a goal in my first year of business that, like, okay, I want to make, like, I just started coaching. I was like, I want to make 40K this year. I want to have 40 clients. I want to hit 10K on Instagram. I'd only like 1,000 followers then. And I thought, when I achieve those things, I will then be worthwhile in people's eyes, right? Because I'd left flight school. I was at the bottom of the rung, and everyone thinks I'm at the bottom of the rung. So until I achieve those things, I'm not worthwhile, right? And I was so wrong, because when I did achieve those things, people still treated me the same. That was all in my head.
You made it up.
And the lesson in that is that you are your USP. You're one of one. And there are people out there that really enjoy your company. There'll be someone out there that thinks, oh, well, I wasn't invited to this, or, I'm not the popular one in that. People really enjoy your company, and there'll be someone maybe this week, this month. Oh, no, I wish Kira was here. I wish she was there. She's great she's great to be around.
Yeah.
And realizing that people just love you for your personality. and your quirks, and nobody can be nobody in the world can be better Daniel Dargan than I can. And I might try to emulate other people, but there's no one that can be a better me than me, right? So realizing that I'm the biggest strength, copying people doesn't get you where you want to go, and that I don't like saying you're enough, because I feel like that's, when I hear that, I'm like, shut up, man. But who you are, like, when you achieve things, that's not going to make people like you more. Yeah. Like, you're not your achievements. You are who you are at the core, right?
Love that.
And like, when you're really stripped back, not talking about your career, not talking about your physique, who are you? Like, what kind of person are you? What will people remember you as?
Amazing.
I feel like that's important. What was your follow up question?
What's the one thing that makes you the happiest? What's something that really makes you happy? Set your soul on fire. Can be anything. I'm gonna say Sonny.
I love Sonny.
Every time he's the best.
Sonny's the main character. Every time I come down in the mornings, I come down first and he's lying there and he looks hungover. It's like 5 a.m. and he looks at me and I'm like, I'm really sorry, bro, for waking you up in your slumber. And he gets up and I crouch down in my hunkers and I say, big paws. And then he goes like this. He jumps up, puts his paws on my shoulders, stretches out, and then sniffs me. And I'm like, my guy. Yeah, Sonny for sure. But I honestly think, a lot of people say, oh, friends and family. And of course I love my friends and family. Absolutely. I'm not saying I'm not happy when I'm with them. But honestly, I feel like I feel so alive when I'm at the beach. And when I'm in the sea, and I just find myself like screaming and shouting, and it gives me a real appreciation for life. It gives me a real appreciation for just the opportunity that I have. And it all sounds very blasé, but like, it always makes me reminisce on when I wasn't grateful for Northern Ireland, when I wasn't grateful to be alive, and when I took everything like this for granted. And, people might listen and be like, oh, well, I wish I could have his attitude. I don't think like that all the time.
No.
There's times when I'm sitting in the house and there's times you get in your own head, right? There's times you overthink things, but like, you're human, right? People say to me like, like, I want to make it very clear that a lot of people on social media, like, they're not how they are in person. But that's the thing. It's social media, right? Yeah. Who I am with my girlfriend is not who I am with my when I'm working with my clients. It's like, you have different hats that you put on with individuals. So that's that. I feel alive when I'm at the beach, and yeah, it's unmatched.
Yeah.
And I look back at my life and doing those things, going to Wim Hoff and going to the beach and going to the waterfall and doing those things, and I look back and with a smile, because I want to look back and just know that I give it a good fucking whack.
Yeah.
That I gave it a good rattle.
I love that.
And like, I think if my girlfriend, she was like, when we were driving in Thailand, and I didn't have a helmet. She was like, Daniel, you need to be really careful. I said, what if you die? And I was like, honestly, see if I went now, I actually think I'd be cool. Like, I've had a belter innings, so I'm like, yeah.
I love that. Amazing.
So yeah,
pure connection.
Absolutely, and it's not always the case, but that's life, right? Like, it's ups and downs, and what goes up comes down. But you manage expectations, fucking roll the punches, and try to be a nice guy along the way.
You definitely
a sound fella.
You are a sound fella, which
that always says nice guys don't get on, Daniel. So yeah, there you go.
I love that. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. That was a really nice roundup. I know people will definitely take inspiration. I'll leave your Instagram handle below. If anyone has any questions, anything like that, always reach out, pop a message. I know you're very friendly as well. You put up question boxes. Like, reach out, ask questions. Don't be afraid, because the one that asks, what's the question? Do you know that saying? The one that doesn't ask, something on the lines of that anyways.
I know
about if you don't put your hand up, you'll never know, or something on the lines of that. Anyways.
Yeah, you don't ask, you don't get.
That's something like that, yeah. So put your hand up, ask, but thank you guys for listening in. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for coming on. It was so nice to see you as well, and pleasure. I will catch you on the next one.
Hey, Rossi. Let's go, baby. Vamos. Thank you.